Hello, my friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Social Scoop Podcast. My name is Kristen, and I hope that you are really enjoying your day today. We have quite a few really awesome updates that I want to go over today, but first, I want to let you know that our waitlist for the Own Your Influence group coaching program just opened a few days ago. We have already had so many people interested in the program. It is our most affordable program ever. The premise of this program is to basically get you from being just an influencer to an influencer who is running a successful, legitimate, sustainable business, just as I have in the last few years. If you want more information about the group coaching program, definitely head to the link that we have in the description of this episode. You can check out the website to learn more about the program and get on the wait list there so that when the program actually does go live, you'll actually be able to get first dibs on the discounted pricing. Getting into our social media news for today, we have quite a few really interesting pieces of news that I've actually found very valuable. I know a lot of the times when we have news, sometimes there are things that we're like, why are they spending time on these updates? Like, we have more important things that we need. This week seems to be full of those more important things. First things first, you can now search conversations in your DMs. I know this is something that I have struggled with. I'm sure you have too. When you know you talk to someone about something and you just can't find out where in the conversation it is. So instead of scrolling through a million different parts of that conversation, however long it is, especially if it's someone you talk to all the time, now you will be able to go to that conversation, hit the I in the top right-hand corner to get to information, search conversation. You just type in the search term and it's going to show you every time that word was mentioned in your conversation with that person. Game changer. Such a time saver. We love it. Also, Instagram is updating this new feature. They're allowing you to bulk delete or archive posts. I have so many old, crusty, dusty photos down somewhere in my feed from when I first started my page in, 2012. I don't want anyone to see any of that stuff. It is embarrassing, but I will tell you, I am way too lazy to go down there and delete all of that shit. So instead, what you can do now when you're on your profile, top right-hand corner, the three little lines, they call it the hamburger. If you didn't know, I found that out recently. You go to the little hamburger button in the top right-hand corner of your profile. Then you'll hit your activity, posts and videos, and then select all that you would like to delete or archive. And then on the bottom, you can either hit delete or archive. So easy. And again, can definitely help you clean out your feed if there are things that you want to get rid of. Now, if you don't want to get rid of anything, then whatever, ignore this. That's fine. You don't need to go back and clean out your Instagram if you don't want to. I don't think a lot of brands are going to even be scrolling back that far. But just for me and my peace of mind, I like to get rid of the stuff that I'm just like, why did I ever post that? What the fuck was wrong with me? So we're getting rid of that. TikTok is officially releasing their reshare or repost feature. We had talked about this a few weeks ago being tested. It is officially available for everyone at this point. So basically, if you go into your For You page or your following feed and you find a video that you're like, I need everyone to see this shit, all you can do here is go onto the three little dots, super easy, where you would normally share things, or you can just hit the share button and basically a new option that says repost will come up. You hit that and what happens is it will reshare that video to your feed. So not to your profile feed, but anyone who follows you and gets your videos in their feed, that's where that video will show up. Also, even if someone doesn't follow you and they see your videos on the For You page, you will actually have those reposted videos showing up on the For You page as well. It will show the person's handle who posted it and it will show that video that you reshared, but also it will say your handle reposted. So people will be able to click on your page or the original creator's page. I think it's a cool way to start resharing content that your audience would like, because then they may actually click on your profile a little bit more. So even if you're someone who, for whatever reason, can't find the time to create 2 to 3 videos a day for TikTok, that's a great way to keep up on people's feeds without actually having to create any content. Also, one thing that I think a lot of people have mixed feelings about is finally here for a majority of accounts at this point Instagram story likes. So basically what will happen is people will be able to like one of your photos or your videos on stories right next to where they would type a comment back. They actually will have a little heart button there now. So you can click that heart button and like someone's story. And then as the person who posted the story, you'll be able to swipe up and go to that info page. And on that info page is where you will be able to see who liked, how many likes. Again, I talked about this when we first found out about it. I really don't love the idea. I think it's a really nice way to communicate with people and like show your support, but also that will now probably take away from the people that are actually sending messages back to your videos and your photos on stories, which is very valuable because you want to start conversations with people in those DMs. So I think that could hurt us a little bit. And also it's just a mental health thing of like, we already have enough pressure on us as creators to get this many likes and this many comments, and we have all these metrics. This is just another metric that we're going to have to add on to our plate and worry about, in all honesty. I want to tell you, don't worry about likes and comments and things like that, but I feel like I could say that every single day, every single episode, and that you're still going to. That's the matter of fact there. So I really hope that this does end up feeling really good as it goes on and kind of just becomes something that maybe we don't focus on as much as posts and things like that. I just really would love to not feel the pressure of having yet another metric to take care of. So we'll see where that goes. I hope it goes positively for everyone, but we'll see. Anyway, I decided to put our quote of the episode instead of all the way at the beginning. I wanted to put it here. This was actually a suggestion that I had from someone who had listened to the podcast so that we can go over the news, get into this nice quote to set our mindset, and then get into the episode that is a little bit more mindset heavy. So I really loved the idea. It's actually an Oprah Winfrey quote. And I actually really like this one. I feel like it's very relevant to us as creators. The quote says, "Do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do." And I love that because I think so many creators have to go through things that maybe they don't want to do. Like there are plenty of jobs we have that we don't want to have because we have to pay the bills. We can't automatically start posting on Instagram and making thousands of dollars. It doesn't work like that. So you have to do those things that maybe you don't want to do to be able to build your experience, build your income, get ready to do the things that you want to do. I love that. I thought that was a really nice way to start off. So without further ado, we have an amazing episode today with my manager, Becca, who actually handles all of my partnerships, pitches, all of those things. She has so much great insight to offer, and I really, really hope you love her and learn more about Blogist. Guys, we are here today with my manager, Becca, who I am so excited for you to meet because she's amazing, but also because she just has so much knowledge on influencer management, which I get a lot of questions about. So, Becca, thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to be here, and I would love to start off by just hearing a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So I'm originally from South Georgia. Everyone always asks me that question when they hear my accent. A couple years ago when I graduated college, I moved to Las Vegas. So that's actually where I live now. So really cool, like, especially being a young adult living in Las Vegas. I've been with Blogist. Actually, February has been 2 years. And it's been really cool to see like the company grow because we are technically still a startup, but we have grown a ton in the past 2 years. We've brought on a lot more team members, a lot more influencers. We actually have a waitlist right now for our advisory program. So my background is actually in fashion. I majored in fashion merchandising in college and minored in marketing and business. So the classes that I took, we learned about PR and stuff like that. So I think it was really good experience for me coming into Blogist because I already knew how to do the emails and the pitches. And in college, I wanted to get as much experience as I could. So I did a bunch of like social media internships. And so I think that's where I learned like a lot of strategy and how to help people grow their business and stuff like that.
I love that. Yeah. And I feel like same thing. I also went to school for advertising and marketing communications in marketing, same as you, but I also went at a fashion school. So I did also have this kind of like fashion experience with the marketing. So much of what I learned about business is stuff that I learned in college, but I think internships were just as important.
Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot in my internships about like what I don't want to do, and I think that definitely helped me get to where I am today.
Of course, I learned like a 9 to 5 is not for me. Like I'm a very creative person,
Same.
as are you. And so I think, especially in this industry, like the fashion, the influencer, the social media industry, like those internships are so important because people want to see that experience that you have. Like,
Oh yeah.
Why should they listen to you and your strategy if you've never done this before?
Exactly, yeah. And there's so many of us at this point. I feel like you do have to have something to set you apart. And a lot of the times it is, like what you know or who you know too. That's true.
Sure.
So to start off, for anyone who's listening who is like, what the heck is a manager? Or like, this whole social media influencer industry, I think because it's so new, there's so much going on and there's still a little bit of confusion on like, what is a PR agency versus an influencer management agency versus influencer platforms? Like they all sound kind of the same. So can you explain to us what a PR agency is, what influencer management agencies are, and then influencer platforms and kind of how they differ?
Yeah, so PR agencies are going to get you into like the magazines. They're going to get you the like news placements and stuff like that. Influencer management is kind of different than that because we're going to get you the brand deals with Walmart, Target, like all the companies that people really love. Even the smaller brands, we have smaller brands coming to us like startups, boutiques, stuff like that. So we help you really grow your business. And something that I love about Blogist from other influencer agencies is that we actually take the time to really help you with your strategy and focus on, okay, why is my content not performing well? How can I
Right.
change that? And the beginning of each quarter, we kind of sit down and we look at your goals. We plan it out and we kind of see, okay, were we able to meet our goals from last quarter? And that's something that I really love. And a lot of our influencers do too. They love that connection that they have with their management team.
Right.
And then influencer platforms are kind of like Maverick, Aspire, stuff like that. So they're kind of, you sign up for their database and they send you brand deals. There's
Right.
really no connection there, and a lot of them won't negotiate with you. And it's bad to say, but a lot of companies will take you more seriously when you have a manager.
Yep.
And they'll, be like, okay, this girl is the real deal. We're going to give
She's
her more money.
legit.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, with PR agencies versus like an influencer management agency, I feel like influencer management agencies are really similar to like a modeling agency where, again, like you're the ones helping find the jobs. Obviously, as influencers, our jobs are when we're working with brands and things like that. So you guys are kind of the best connection between the job and the influencer, or the brand and the influencer. But I think, again, what you said, like how you guys are a little different from a lot of other agencies, is you actually help to basically groom the influencer, get to where they need to be so that you have more success pitching them to brands. It's more than just like being able to put together the perfect pitch. You have to also make sure that your talent is in a good spot with, their engagement and their content and all of these different things that are so important when you're pitching.
Yeah. And so when you first sign on with us, we normally like to start with like strategy and just figuring out what's working, what's not working, because if you can't be consistent posting organically, then how are you going to keep up with these brand deals? And I think a lot of
Right.
influencers forget that part, that the strategy is just as important as getting the paid brand deals. And of course, everyone wants to get paid, especially if this is your full-time job. But like, we really want to like set you up for success from the start.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's one reason that I love working with you guys. I feel like Blogist does differentiate themselves so much from other influencer management companies. I know before I started working with you guys, maybe in 2020, I think it was, I did a trial with an agency who approached me, and it was moral of the story, just a hot mess. I won't go into crazy detail, but I do appreciate like the time that I have one-on-one, which again, I think is so different. So tell us a little bit more about your role at Blogist and like what your day-to-day looks like. I'm sure it's different every day, but a general idea.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about this industry is like you never have the same day.
That's for sure.
So let's see. So like Monday through Wednesday is kind of like my meetings with internal people, like people I work with, and then I'm basically on the computer all day long answering emails, looking at contracts, sending pitches, stuff like that. Thursdays are like the call days. So I meet with all my influencers. I split them up into 2 different weeks. But on Thursdays, we meet, we talk about strategy, we talk about your goals, we talk about who are we pitching, updates, and stuff like that. But for the most part in this industry, like if you don't like emails, I don't think you're not
Good
going to be
luck.
happy.
It's honestly so crazy. I think it's so funny to think about where like you meet someone and you're like, oh, I'm an influencer. They just think you like, I don't know, like sit
Take
around
pictures
and
all
like do cute stuff all day. And you're just like, no, I literally can't even see anymore because I've been answering emails for so long.
I know. Sometimes I look at the end of the day, like 5 o'clock, and I look at like the wall, and I just see email, like words. I'm like, okay, I need to take a break.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's that way in so many different jobs at this point because, like, obviously, with a lot of people not being in the office too, like, most things we do at this point are digital. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
That also makes sense as to why so many brands are investing so much money in influencers. Like, you've been with Blogist for 2 years. Have you noticed that in those 2 years, brands, from what when you started, they're paying a lot more for influencer marketing than they were back then?
Yeah, and I think the pandemic had a big thing to do with it because
Right.
if you look at the influencer industry in 2020, it was thriving. People were at home, they were shopping, and I know at the beginning of it, March 2020, some of our influencers were worried. Brands took a moment and they pivoted. So they weren't
Right.
doing like marketing how they normally had been because it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
People weren't visiting malls, they were shopping online, and who can point them in that direction? Influencers. Especially
Exactly.
if you're on reward style or shop style, you could link it and that brand, like and you saw a big increase in like Amazon sales. Walmart, I think, is a big company right now that's really utilizing influencer marketing, and they're doing it right because they did a huge rebrand with their clothing, and now they're getting
Yeah.
all these fashion influencers, and everyone's talking about Walmart.
It's crazy. Like, how did, like, without influencers, how could that have happened?
I
Everyone's
don't think
excited to
that.
shop at Walmart.
Yeah,
What?
you see so many TikToks, people sharing like
Yeah.
all this cute stuff. Yeah.
It's true. I actually have seen Walmart around quite a bit on social media. I maybe have to go there at some point. It's so weird. I can't, it's hard to
know.
wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's like Abercrombie and their rebrand. Like,
Yep.
they're no more graphic tees. It's like actually cute stuff. And
Right.
again, they did that with influencer marketing.
Yeah, it's very powerful. So for an influencer who sees the opportunity here and wants to get more deep into this industry and maybe make it their full-time job, really, quote, take it more seriously, as a lot of people say, why would someone hire a management, and how do they know, or a manager, and how do they know that they are ready for management? Like, I don't think everyone's a good fit. How do they know that it's a good time? And then, why would they want to hire a manager?
So I would say a lot of our influencers come to us because they're getting a lot of inbound requests. And so they just kind of can't keep up with that negotiation anymore. Other people just aren't good or don't like negotiating, period. And I think like if you're getting a good amount of incoming requests, that means that brands want to work with you. That means
Right.
your content is good. So when we go to pitch you, you're probably going to have success with that. I would say if you're not getting, inbound requests from brands, just kind of take a look at what's working, what are your audience loving, what are they not, and then seeing kind of what you can pivot and change from that. I will say with Blogist, if you don't think you're ready to start with like our advisory plan just yet, you can sign up for Foundation, and with that you get strategy help. So one of our talent managers can actually like help you see like what's working, what's not working, and help you create like a content plan on setting you up so you can become an advisory member.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's cool that you guys do have those two different options because, like I said, I don't think everyone is ready to like full on take on management. There's a lot of things that influencers have to work on before they are going to be ready to work with brands. And if they're not, I feel like it's kind of a waste of money for them and a waste of time for you guys, because it's kind of like, is it like beating a dead horse? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. It's like, we can pitch you to a million companies, but if you're just not a good fit, or your content or your audience just isn't loving what you're pushing them, then it's just not going to be a success anyway. And you're going to end up wasting that money.
Right. So what would you say for influencers who are pretty sure they're not ready to full on take on management because they're not really getting a lot of inbound requests? Like they're not really at that stage yet. Like what are some of the things that they should, like what are some of the boxes they should be checking in order to like get themselves into a place where they would be a good fit?
Yeah. So being consistent with your, posting your content, and then just really trying to find out what your audience loves and what they don't love. Also, like if you want to work with a brand, say you want to work with Abercrombie in the future, have you ever posted them? Have you ever shared them with your audience? Because like a lot of brands want to see the ROI, so the return on investment. And if you're not even sharing them to begin with, then how are they going to see those numbers? A big thing we tell our influencers is to brand flirt. So post about them, do some try on, share them on your like to know it, pull your audience and see what they want to see. Also, a lot of companies aren't looking at the likes anymore. They're looking at, okay, are people sharing your content? Are they saving it? Are they commenting? And so I think having an engaged audience is the next step into working with more brands.
Yeah, so many great points. And one thing I always love to point out, and I'm curious to see if you agree with this, whenever I think about consistency, or when I talk with my students about consistency, they're like, okay, cool. So you want me to post every day? And I'm just like, no, like that's not exactly what consistency means. That's more frequency. I would say consistency is more you kind of positioning yourself as an expert in certain categories, being the go-to person for a certain type of content, a certain type of visuals, basically being a person who is like top of mind because you've been so consistent with the type of content, or again, the visuals or whatever it is. I don't think you need to post 7 days a week to be successful by any means. I think we'd all go crazy.
Yeah, especially with Instagram nowadays, it's like you could post every single day, and sometimes it just won't do good. Like it just depends. And I definitely think it's quality over quantity. Don't just post to post. I know like a lot of people out there, their courses like push you to post every single day at the same time. But if you're not, posting quality content, why?
Doesn't matter.
Why would you do it anyway? Why would your audience interact with that? And I think a question you have to ask yourself is, if I was my audience, would I want to interact with this? Would I want to stop? Would I want to share it? Would I want to save it? And if not, then I wouldn't post it. I also think a mistake that people are making is just not working on Reels right now, or getting on TikTok, because that's where a lot of people are seeing like quick growth. And Instagram is pushing video content.
So actually, that brings up a good point and a question that I'm always curious to get people's opinion on. When it comes to, Reels and feed posts and TikTok and all of those things, from a management perspective, do you find that brands are favoring one type of content over the other? Or, like, I know that it's important for you to have a variety of content and, show a brand that you can do pretty much whatever they need you to, but with all those different kinds of deliverables, are there specific ones that most brands are favoring right now?
It kind of depends on the brand. There are some brands who are focusing more on TikTok. And the good thing about, video content is you can kind of do like a package deal. So you'll post the Instagram reel on Instagram and then the video on TikTok. So I think it kind of depends on the brand. It also depends on the influencer and where their audience is more. I would say like Instagram stories and Instagram reels are really popular right now, just because that's where a lot of people are. I've heard like a lot of people aren't really scrolling the feed anymore. And so with reels, like you have the explore page that you can just like swipe up on and like watch through all the reels. So I think it's more like video content is key right now.
Yeah. It's so funny. I feel like every single episode, someone says something about how everyone needs to start video content. So like, if
Yeah.
you're not doing it at this point, how many more times do we need to tell you have to get on it?
I know. I'm like, I always tell my influencers, I'm like, listen, I know it seems overwhelming, but I promise once you get started, it's
Right.
totally fine. And something that I always recommend is like having a day each week. So like a Monday or a
Yep.
Friday to just create that video content and like edit it at one time. And that just makes it so simple. That way you're not like scrounging every single day to try and post a TikTok.
Yeah, you don't have to like put your hair and makeup on and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's so funny on TikTok. I literally will batch create like 2 or 3 weeks worth of content, and I'm wearing the same exact outfit in every single one. And I'm just like, I don't even care, because like, people are still they're gonna be listening to what I'm saying more than they're gonna be caring about my outfit. So batch
Yeah.
creating, I think, is the way to go. It really does make things so much easier. With TikTok versus Instagram, though, I'm curious again from a management standpoint. Do you feel like, because I know in my specific case, I have around 24,000 followers on Instagram. I have around 15,000 followers on TikTok. So I understand that I have more followers on Instagram. If I had the exact same amount of followers on both platforms, do you feel like I would still make more money on a partnership for Instagram than I would on TikTok?
I think right now, yes, just because a lot of brands haven't figured out how great TikTok is, like the audience on there. Like, I mean, a lot of people just love to shop. It's like the younger generation. So, like, they have that more disposable income. They don't have the bills.
Yeah.
So, if it's the right product, it's going to go viral on TikTok. But I think a lot of brands are still kind of clinging to Instagram just because it's still a very popular app.
Right.
But personally, I just really love TikTok, and I think it's like going to be a huge thing in 2022.
I think especially with the way Instagram has been going lately, like, there's always a new frustration. Every day it's something new. So I
Mhm.
feel like so many creators are almost doing this like mass exit from Instagram. And I honestly would be really interested to see where things go in the next couple of years, because I feel like there's going to be a certain point where Instagram is starting to feel like Facebook, where like we only kind of use it when we have to, but we're mostly on this other platform, which honestly would probably be TikTok at that point.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I think it's just like everyone's going to kind of get tired of Instagram trying to be
Bullshit.
like other platforms. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like at some point everyone's going to be like, kind of like how they did with Facebook. They were kind of over it and just wanted
Yeah.
something new. And that's how, MySpace was. Like people kind of just getting tired of it and they moved over to Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah, it is really scary, I think, for a creator, in my position, or even as a manager who works on a lot of Instagram partnerships. It's obviously really scary to be in a time like this where things are still really so up in the air with all of the
Mhm.
platforms. I think that is also one of the most important reasons why influencers should be at this point trying to find different avenues of monetization that like they can count on, just in case Instagram up and leaves one day, or we all up and leave Instagram one day.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. I was following an influencer who she's got almost 1 million followers. Someone hacked her account on Instagram this
Oh,
past weekend. So I'm like, that's why it's so important to have like an email list, be on
yep,
others like social accounts, have a blog, because at the end of the day, you don't own your Instagram, you don't own your TikTok, none of that, but you do
yep,
own your blog and you own your email list. And if something like that ever happened, you can totally send an email out to your email list. You can
yeah.
put a blog post up.
SOS.
People will know, and that's what she did, and so people have followed her to like TikTok and stuff.
It's so scary. I say to Andrew all the time, I'm like, if my account ever gets hacked, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm going to work at Sephora or something, because I'm out. I'm out of
Yeah.
here.
What do you do at that point? That's literally your lifeline.
I could it would be so scary. It's still so scary to think about. Again, having a backup, I think, is very smart. So
Mhm.
for influencers, again, who are kind of thinking about taking this more seriously, looking into management, how do they know that a certain influencer management agency is the right fit? Because I feel like there's a lot of similarities with them, but there's also so many differences just from you guys and 2 other companies I've done like quick trials with. So many differences. So how do you find out what's right for you?
I think it's totally fine to just email the company and, they might send you over a deck with more information. We always send over like an FAQ deck where we answer questions that a lot of people, ask. But if you ever have any questions, we'll email with you and make sure like you feel comfortable signing on. Setting up a call, anything like that, just making sure like your values align with them and you're going to be able to work best with them because, not everyone is for everyone.
Yeah, I think that is very helpful. But I think also influencers need to go into management thinking or knowing that they have specific needs. Like for me, my biggest issue and the reason why I started working with you guys was time. Like I can send a pitch all day and negotiate all day. That doesn't bother me. It's just like I don't have the time to do so. I would rather put that time into creating content and, doing other things that's going to help my audience grow versus something that I can hand someone else who can do it just as well, if not better than I can. And again, I do also have that nice like padding of it coming from a manager, and it does seem a little bit more legit. So I think it's important for an influencer to know like what is it exactly that you need help with, and then figure out what company does the best job at that. Like it's really crazy because when I first started even thinking about management this was in summer 2020, I had a company reach out to me that was like, "Oh yeah, we work with all these brands for you and everything. We'll do a trial." And it sounded amazing. Like I agreed with all their logistics and everything, except
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they didn't pitch me. Like they only handled things that already came into my inbox. They did not send one pitch out for me. And I'm over here like, this is the most important part for me because that's the part that I don't have the time to do. So that was not a good fit for me, but I didn't really understand what I was really looking for before then. So I think once I had a more clear head on like a mission on exactly what I needed, that's when I was like, oh, you guys are perfect because you can do a lot of different things that I just don't have the time to do.
Of course. And I think one of the main things we do is we want to get you back to doing the content creation because that's what you're good at. That's what your job is. And so on initial calls, I like to just take the time and like figure out how we can best work together. What are your needs? Like, what can we help you with? And then we'll split them in to different quarters and make sure, you're not overwhelmed or anything like that. And I will say with influencer management companies, some of them, will just mass pitch you. At Blogist, like we try to really, you send us a storyline, insights, and stuff like that because we want each pitch to be personalized. And if you do, sign on with an influencer management company and they don't start pitching you to begin with, it's totally fine to just be like, hey, what's up? And most of the time, like I know for us at Blogist, like we like to, like I said, focus on that strategy first and just making sure like we're all set up, before we start pitching.
Right.
But that's normally in the first like month or two. And then, we start getting like in a pitch groove where we send out a certain number and just making sure you're comfortable and CC'd on it so you have full visibility. I get like there's so many influencers who come and they're like, my last agency didn't let us like see the emails they were sending out. And I'm like, that is insane to me. And I'm like, Julian, one of our co-founders, she's like, no, like this is your business. You should be CC'd on it.
100%. Yeah, like I'm a control freak. I need to know what's happening behind the scenes. Like, I don't want to do it myself, but I definitely want to come stalk and read what you're sending out.
Exactly. It's just like having an employee. Like if you had like a huge business, like you want to know, you want to make sure like they're with the same values as your company and like they're not sending out crazy emails.
Exactly. And you have no idea. So I think that kind of plays into communication and just showing how important communication is between you and your manager. So for someone who maybe is like getting into working with a management company and maybe has been partnered with someone, how do influencers get the best experience from working with a manager? Like what advice would you give them to make sure that they're getting out of management what they're looking for?
So the big thing is communication, obviously. Like, if you have any questions, just ask us because we're not mind readers. And most of the time, like, you're in a different city than we are. So, like, we're not moving up. So, like, email is, like, the big thing. I always like to schedule like bi-monthly calls and we kind of hop on. So if there's any questions you have or like anything like you want to know about, just bring it to that call. And I think that's totally normal to have like a frequent call with your manager. And if you're not, then you should probably be asking why not. Yeah. So just like communication and just making sure like you know what you guys are going to be doing when you sign up, when you sign the contract.
Yeah, again, I think you made a good point of saying, like, this is a part of your team. You have to almost, like it's a 50-50 partnership. Just because they are management, it seems like they're, like in this magical world above you, like doing way bigger things than you. But at the end of the day, like, you are in a 50-50 partnership. And I think this is where a lot of influencers get caught up, even with pitching to brands themselves or negotiating with brands themselves. Like, it's the piece of, I'm an influencer, but I am also a business owner and I have specific ways that I need to do things or specific things that I need to be done. And you have to be confident enough in yourself and your business to be able to say, like, hey, like, I didn't see you guys pitch this day to this brand. Like, you tell me what's up here, like, I don't think that it's ever like, no one takes it offensively, like we're a part of a team and that's how you have to communicate. Like, that communication I think is so important, but so many influencers are afraid to speak up and stand up for things that they want or need.
Exactly. And I think just having that communication and finding the manager, it's kind of like finding a psychologist that you trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might have to like try different managers out and see who fits better with you.
Right.
And I think that's totally normal. I think some people just get discouraged if like one manager doesn't work out. They're like, well, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
But you kind of just have to figure out, are we going to work well together? Are we both type A? Are we both organized? I think definitely find a manager who's super organized and loves emails.
Yeah, that's like a job requirement. Yeah. So when influencers are looking to work more with brands, what are the most common things that those brands look for in a partnership? Like, is there, again, like specific types of content? Do they love like personality being shown? Or like, what are those kind of aspects of, a brand being like, ooh, we really want to work with this person? I always like, I refer to this. I don't know if you watch New Girl. So there's this, okay, good. So there's this episode where Jess in New Girl is like stalking this guy at a wedding date that she like wants to hook up with. And she calls it Bidening him. She's like, we're going to Biden him. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And so like, I think this is kind of like a good way of saying like you have to kind of Biden the brands where you're just there all the time so that you're top of mind.
Yeah, no, I think especially like brand flirting is a good thing because just keep tagging the brand. They're not going to get tired of it. They're going to love that free exposure. But at the end of the day, you can send those insights to them in a pitch and be like, hey, like this is how many DMs I got. Like all my audience really wants to see more of this. They had all these link clicks. Stuff like that. Brands really want to see the ROI. So are your audience engaging with you? Are they going to get sales from this?
Right.
And also like if a brand is ever like, we want a certain amount of sales, I would say negotiate that or run because I mean, you wouldn't go to, put a billboard up and say, I need a certain amount of sales from this billboard. So it's kind of the same way. I just think influencer marketing is really new and people just think that influencers sit around and take pictures and eat bonbons all day.
Seriously, it's so crazy. I'm just like, at this point, how many billions of dollars is this industry worth? And how are there still people that don't understand like the importance and the legitimacy of being an influencer? Like, I almost wish there was a different word to call it because I feel like influencer is like such a tainted word at this point where people are, again, they have like those specific thoughts of like, this is what you are and this is what you do. And I always am just like, I work in social media because I don't want people to like think a certain way about me. It's honestly so shitty that it has to be like that.
Yeah. And I'm like, most influencers are like, they work the longest hours. I mean, just like business owners, like you quit your 40-hour-a-week job to work 80 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly. Like how did we get here?
Yeah.
So when you are basically kind of navigating this partnership between brand and influencer, and you've gotten them, a deal and everything is great. They post and the post just like totally bombs. How do you kind of navigate that situation? Because obviously the influencer has done everything that they possibly can to make this post do really well, created awesome content, they've been engaging, like all of the right things. However, like there still is a point where like it's in the hands of Instagram, and what will be. So what is your kind of protocol for dealing with that and making sure the brand isn't like, ugh, we hate them, we're never working with them again?
So the good thing about that is a lot of brands, like their team, know that Instagram is a shit show right now. So
Yeah.
most of them are like, they understand it. But we always will take a second if it, totally bombs, and just be like, well, why didn't your audience like this? What about
Right.
this didn't work? What can we do again? And so sometimes if it just does terrible and maybe the brand is upset, you can always offer, like an organic post. And that way, like the relationship with the brand isn't ruined. Especially if that next post does amazing, then we know, hey, it's just Instagram and
Right. It was a
them
fluke.
just not wanting to push. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when an influencer is trying to kind of set this up with a brand, if they don't have management, what would you say are kind of like the key aspects of a great pitch email? Like what makes a brand read a pitch and be like, oh, I really think I could see myself as a brand working with this influencer?
I think a lot of influencers feel like the pitch needs to be super long and detailed. And I think just don't make it like 2 sentences, but maybe like a couple paragraphs and that's
Yeah.
it. Make sure you introduce yourself, make sure you include some insights. Say you've posted about Abercrombie and you're pitching to them, include those insights because like they really like to see the numbers. And then just tell them like what you plan to do with the content. So are you going to do Instagram reels? Just keep it short and sweet, but make sure they have the information they need. And you don't have to go into detail about how you started influencing or anything like that. I mean, they don't really care about
They
that
don't care.
aspect. They just want to know, what are you going to do for them? Because, I mean, honestly, they get so many a day. They don't want to sit through and read your 3-page essay on why you
Yeah.
became an influencer.
Yeah, like no offense, but no one cares about your life story. We just want to know what service you're providing, what it looks
Yeah.
like, what if your audience likes it, like the important stuff. Short and sweet, I think, is always best with a pitch for sure.
Yeah. And I know a lot of influencers include like a rate card in their media kit. We don't normally do that just because, say, the brand, you send over $1,700 for an Instagram post, but they're willing to pay you like $2,000, then you're losing out on that.
Yeah, exactly.
And say also that your rate is $1,700 for an in-feed post. I would say go higher, because if they're going to talk you down, then you can end up at $1,700.
Right. Actually, speaking of pricing, this is probably the question I get the most, and it's the hardest question to answer. How does an influencer come up with their rates?
I wish like there was like a formula, but honestly, like they never work out, because a lot of them are like, if you have under 10,000, then you charge $100 for an in-feed post. But at the end of the day, it's still a lot of work, whether you have 6,000 followers, 8,000 followers, or 100,000, So I think it just kind of depends. I wish I had like a set answer, but I think
so hard.
Yeah, it just differs for everyone, because you could have the same amount of followers as another influencer, but if they have better engagement, then they're going to be able to charge more.
Right.
Also, are your affiliate sales really good? Because a lot of brands are on ShopStyle or like To Know It or Amazon now. So if you can link them and you can sell them, a lot of brands will pay more for that.
Right. Yeah, I know when I was originally in the process of nailing down my rates, I mean, I did them wrong so many times before I got to a place where I felt like they made sense. When I first thought of rates, I mean, I think I first started charging a few years ago, when I was around 10,000 followers. And I basically was on a campaign with one of my friends who has the exact same follower count, exact same engagement, super similar content. Like we were very similar creators.
Mm-hmm.
And we talking one day and I'm like, oh yeah, like this is what they paid me. And she's like, wait, what? This is what they paid me. And so we, again, same creator, they paid her like 2 or 3 times more than what they paid me, simply because I asked for something way lower, because I was like, no way are they going to pay me $200, you know? Obviously this was a few years ago, so things have even changed more since then, but I got a lot of my information from talking to other people. And I know a lot of creators don't love to talk about pricing, but I think there are enough that do. And also a lot of influencers who, you know, like you have a good relationship with. I think it can't be like a random person where you're like, hey, what do you charge for this? How much should I charge for this? I get those questions all the time. I literally delete them because I'm just like, I don't mind talking about it, but like, you don't even follow me, you know? Like, come on, give me something here.
Hello first.
Hello. Yeah, like literally, or like a please. I don't know. But I talked to a lot of people that I trusted, and I asked them, hey, okay, what are you charging, out of curiosity? And I did a lot of almost research in that way. But also I had a job at some point in my journey here where I was working on the other side. So I kind of got an inside scoop on what was appropriate for me to be charging. And so we actually put all of that together in our ebook that's in our Etsy shop. And it's like a whole rate sheet of basically like super basic starting rates of X, Y, and Z for how many followers. But again, like, what are the things that you can bump those rates up for? Obviously, a lot of the things that are in the contract, like exclusivity, whitelisting, usage, all that stuff. But also, like, what's your engagement rate? Do you have like super high quality content that they can use in, you know, these really big ads or in a magazine? Or again, like, is your ROI really high when brands work with you? Like, all of those things that you can bump the rate up for. But we tried to get like a solid, you know, starting point for a lot of people, because there's just nowhere out there that you can get a legitimate answer. It's like those stupid calculators.
I hate those calculators because it's like, it's just different for everyone. Like, you can't just plug your number. Like, you can't do that.
Right. Exactly.
And there's, like you said, there's so many factors. And I think especially like influencers who might not have a manager or never worked with a manager, or who maybe haven't done a ton of brand deals, you're intimidated at first to like send what you know you're actually worth. And so it is, I think that's where it's good when a manager comes in, because I can actually send what I know you're worth.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to be like, no, we don't want to work with you, it's too high. Most of the time, like, we'll just email it back and be like, okay, well, what's your budget? It's normally not that much lower, honestly. And normally we can get them to meet us in the middle. So that's why we like to go higher.
Yep.
So they'll just talk us down, and then we'll be like, all right, well, you met us at our rate anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's negotiation. I know we actually just did that exact same thing for a brand that we're working with. They said, oh, sorry, we can't make your rates work. You got back to them and said, well, what's your budget? They gave us a number and we made something work. So I think that when a creator is getting turned down in that way, like, that's not the end of the road by any means. Like, there's so many different ways that you can get that partnership going, whether it's like maybe you start off a little lower, later on when they have a fresh month or a fresh quarter, maybe they can pay you more, or maybe they can't do anything right now, but in a couple months you send them another email. Like, it doesn't always mean that the door is closed. And especially if it's closed right now, then you spend more time again flirting with the brand, bidening the brand, whatever you want to call it. And then you basically, you know, later on, they're like, okay, this girl is like, she's obsessed with us. Let's just give her some money because she's clearly going to tell everyone she knows. And like, that's not a bad position to be in.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think the brand is ever going to just like block you from emailing them. And it's never truly a no. It's just like, maybe it's not right now, like you said.
Right.
A lot of brands, like, they have a set budget they have to go through. So especially for holiday, like, you want to pitch pretty early, I would say end of August, September, which sounds insane. But like, if a brand tells you no, it might not be you. It might just be that their budget is done.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, not every brand does that kind of stuff the same way. Like, I'm sure with all of the different brands that you're dealing with, you probably see so many different ways that brands go about picking influencers, starting campaigns, refreshing budgets. Like, there's no set way to do that. So you almost have to kind of like just shoot your shot a few different ways and a few different times. And then every brand could give you a totally different response.
Yeah, for sure. And I would also say another tip is like some brands are represented by like marketing firms. So their influencer marketing isn't in-house. So just, find those agencies and like see if it's brands that you want to work with and reach out to them, because a lot of them will enjoy that you're coming to them so they don't have to go find influencers to cast for these campaigns.
Yeah.
Another good thing about Blogist is that we started a brand partnerships team last year. So if you sign up with a profile on Blogist, we can pitch you for these different campaigns that we have. So we'll like reach out to you. So just make sure you sign up and then put your demographics and your email and all that on there.
Right.
Link your social accounts just so we can see that back end information and match you with campaigns. So it's kind of like an influencer platform in a way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like everything built into one.
Yeah, you guys are a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
I love it. So then in my wrap up here, I'm going to challenge you. Give us your best piece of advice for an influencer who is listening right now in 2 sentences or less.
Realistic expectations. If you have, say, 12,000 followers, this is probably more than 2 sentences, but whatever. Don't expect to get like $100,000 brand deal from like Walmart or something.
Right.
Be realistic, okay?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. When you're able to manage expectations, I feel like you're almost at a nice point where you probably won't be let down because you're being realistic.
And it doesn't mean you can't get there one day. It just means right now that's not feasible for you.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. So at the end of every episode, I open the floor to my guests to ask me one question of their choice. So let's hear your question.
Okay. What is your least favorite thing about Instagram currently?
Oh my gosh. How much time do we have?
This could be your own episode.
I mean, literally, I could do a whole episode on this. Oh gosh, my least favorite thing about Instagram right now. Well, at this exact moment, it's Tuesday the 15th. Socialmate's Instagram is just gone. Like, I literally have no idea what happened to it. So that's my biggest struggle right now. Maybe by the time this airs, it will be back, I hope.
Hopefully.
Not really sure what the hell is happening. I think my least favorite part about Instagram is how they change things so frequently that they don't almost give the things that they change enough time to work before they change them again. So like so many times they're like, here's this new feature. And we're like, all right, we're going to learn how to use it. And then they're like, and they give you 10 other things within that new feature. And you're like, can I have 5 seconds to just like process this and, like work out the kinks? You never get the time. I feel like it's just always so go, go, go that there's always so much to keep up with. And we don't have the proper amount of time to process any of it.
Yeah, I feel like they're always trying to keep up with other apps.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I feel like the only thing people want from Instagram is the chronological feature back.
Literally. And I know that it's, quote, in the works, but like Andrew has had it on and off for like the last 2 months. One day he'll go on and it will be there, and one day it's gone. So I'm just like, can you, before you announce it to all of us, can you just get your shit together and like figure it out?
Figure it out. Like literally, you don't even have to do any more updates. This is all we want.
That's literally all we want. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Hopefully Instagram gets their shit together and makes it a happier place for everyone, because if not, I do not know exactly where they're gonna go. I actually just watched a video. I'm gonna have to send it to you. One of my friends sent it to me, and it was this guy talking about how, I think it was last week, the Meta whatever stocks like totally went crazy and did horribly. They were like the lowest they've ever been or something crazy like that.
I did see that.
Yeah, it was a really interesting video, but it was basically talking about how like people are leaving Instagram and the advertisers on Meta are realizing it, and so they're losing a lot of their money. And when Instagram doesn't have money, like where is that going to leave us with the platform? So like he was basically talking about how we're just like living in the demise of Instagram, and I was like, this is really scary, but also like kind of feels really accurate.
Well, it's a wake-up call, like we talked about earlier, to get on another platform, get a newsletter or a blog or something. That way, if Instagram does, crash and burn, your business isn't gone.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's one of the top lessons for today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. This was a lot of fun. I would love to have you just tell everyone where they can find you and find Blogist. You also have like a lot of other really awesome things that you do. You have a boutique, you've got a lot going on. So where can everyone find you and all of the amazing things you do?
Yeah, of course. So I actually do blog kind of on the side, but it's just more like fun so I can be creative. But you can follow me at Styled by Becca blog. My store Instagram is shop alllllllll. And then for Blogist, we are blogist.co on Instagram.
Amazing. And I'll have everything linked down in the little description there. So if you want to click on any of those links and go check out any of the social media pages we just mentioned, you can find all of them there. But I hope everyone loved this episode and got something really helpful from it. Becca and the Blogist team are available with, any questions that you have. If you're interested in management or you're considering getting some help in any way, shape, or form, they are open books. You can definitely reach out to them for some help. So thank you so much, and I hope everyone loved it.